Finish, Angela. Can I have a second?
I second.
Any questions? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Mr. Stones, would you review the first action item tonight for us, please?
Yes, sir. So the first item is a application for certificate of appropriateness for a commercial retail space. It's located at 733 University Village Drive. The applicant is requesting to essentially complete what was started how many years ago for a multi-tenant commercial retail space, restaurant. Total build out, I think, is plus minus 7,500 square feet. It's in town center zoning. They're zoned for it. The property is tax map number 15200-01-56. So staff has reviewed the project that they're proposing, and it meets measures that is in the comprehensive plan. It meets the layout of the existing uses of those spaces, and it meets the zoning. So I can take questions. They have submitted site plans and things that will be taken to the planning commission. And I guess the only thing unique with this project is the parking in our ordinance. We do have a condition where we can arrange for parking agreements if they can show us parking studies that does demonstrate that the needs are met. And they did provide a parking study that will be taken to the planning commission, and they did demonstrate basically an IGA with the existing food line parcel there. There's going to be a dedicated crosswalk and use of shared parking there to eliminate having to build more parking. So there's a lot of parking in food line parking lot, but that's another thing unique. I was just mentioning that. I know that this one doesn't get into the site and that specifics, but I'm sure I'll mention that. Questions on that. Outside of that, I'll ask any questions. The applicant, I believe, is here answering questions as it relates to the building or anything like that. So.
Great. Can one of y'all, both of y'all, step up first?
Hey, you want to just straight line represent T. Cooper James Associates in Greensboro, North Carolina. We're here representing the land on the building.
Great. Glad to have you.
Thank you.
One of the questions I've got is what's the allotment for retail versus restaurant initially for this?
But we don't really have that ironed out yet. We're just building this as a spec center currently. So we don't have any leases in hand per se. So we're going to build a 7,500 square foot lease for space building, hopefully to attract 8 or 10. It's more expected to build. But it will be, built for a retail / restaurant type use. There'll be grease traps and all that in place.
Knowing the allotment, the square footage allotment come down the gate, does that affect us in any way?
I don't think so. I mean, I think we know the square footage is plus minus 7,500 square foot total build out, if I'm understanding the application correctly. I think, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think it was Don was one of the last tenants. Did y'all bring them in here specifically, or did y'all?
We did not, because it was an existing. They moved into an existing open space, so
Right.
they did not get to the
I guess what I'm getting at is if, depending on the purview of the future applicants that end up in there, it can come back. If it changed any of the design or any of the measures that the board approves tonight, if any of the future tenants change that, modify that, we can bring it back with that specific tenant in mind. Other than that, impede on the project as a whole as it relates to the architecture and the building and what they're trying to do. Speculative buildings are fairly common.
They would still be required to have a zoning permit though in order to.
That's right.
Correct.
So, you know, they still have to get a, you know, zoning compliance, they still have to come back to the town, you know, depending on what that business is, business licensing, all that stuff will have to be done. And if any of that triggers any change, then that would then bring it back to here. But usually that's generally not the case.
That's what I'm looking for. If we approve it tonight, we only have one shot at it. I just want to make sure there's protocol in place to address that at the proper time.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, the staff would have several triggers that would say, this is too many changes to the space, it needs to come back. We can bring it back. So if it matches with the space that they're designing and building now, then there'd be a non-need.
This is a note, a couple of questions I've got, but this is more for the board. Is there any comment or any, I guess comment on the amount of glass storefront at the front of this building versus the rest of the facility out there? The point being, everything else has shorter glass as opposed. I think what you got looks great. Don't get me wrong. I just want to make sure everybody's satisfied with looking at it.
I think we tried to mock what's currently there next door to us at the Lizard's Thicket and across the street at the drugstore. So I think that's where we came
That's
up.
where that's based on.
Correct, yes, sir.
One other comment that I've got, it looks like the back wall is shown to be finished in CMU, painted CMU, is that correct?
That is correct, yes, sir. That actually matches what's on the back of the building that the Lizard's Thicket is currently in.
That, I looked at that last night, that building is wrapped in brick.
Correct. But there's painted masonry on, excuse me,
What?
there's painted masonry on the right side of that building. Correct.
On the domino.
Yes, yeah. I
Yes,
apologize.
that's correct.
Correct,
That's
yes.
Everything else, the reason that was done like that, I'm told, I wasn't on the board at the time, but when that was permitted, they knew at some point another addition was coming with the understanding or thinking that it was going to butt right up against it and hide it.
Well,
It turned out into
we would be willing to make that change to the back of the building to
I
have.
think it would be best if it would be wrapped just like the rest of the building.
Yeah.
And the north side too.
Yes.
Back and plus and the north. The north side they've got shown also.
Okay, so all four sides of your building would be
Correct,
wrapped.
yes, sir.
Is your HVAC system, your units on the ground?
They're on the roof, and the back of that building has a parapet that goes above it, so it shields all the HVAC units, so you can't see them from the ground.
From the ground, from the front?
Correct.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
The only comment I made, we talked about parking, is it's a commodity out there. That's a popular building
Yeah.
for all the businesses that are in it. And parking's gonna be tight, so long as there's an understanding that we can use Food Line parking.
Yeah, and I think we've got an agreement in place that I think that we acquired last month. So, and the owner owns all the shopping center anyway, so we had to get Food Line to agree to the cross access.
Okay,
Yeah.
great. Any other questions for the board members?
Does the wainscoting match the existing building, other buildings?
The brick?
The wainscoting on the front, is a, well, I call it wainscoting, I may not use the correct terminology. But it's the painted,
Water table? The
Yes.
water table?
Yes, it will be painted to match the building next door to us. Yes, sir.
But it's the same dimension, height?
It's a split face material that's, I think, about 40 inches high, if
Okay.
I'm correct.
So you're matching the height is what you're
Correct.
saying?
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's right. Ralph, do you have any questions?
I had one question.
One question. You mentioned you have already determined the grease trap will be a part of this project.
Correct. I think we've got shown on the civil drawings, yes, sir.
Okay, we haven't seen that. I just want to make sure
Yes, sir.
that that was run by the utility company that does utilities in that area. So,
Yeah, I think we got approval from DHEC already, don't we? On the site? Okay, yeah.
and I wanted to compliment you on you're utilizing, and just so the board understands, you're showing that your canopies over the storefront is going to be the metal canopies.
Yes, sir.
Not the canvas. Very good.
Yeah. Yeah, we have a leasing agent on the ground down here locally, and that was one of her biggest pet peeves, is she wanted to make sure we had aluminum canopies out front.
When are you trying to start?
As quick as we can acquire some permits, we're ready. Matter of fact, we've got a grader chomping at the bit to get started. Yeah, he's been fussing at us for about 45 days now.
Mr. Chairman, the only other question I've got is the landscaping. If you look at the landscaping page, it's totally different from other buildings in the thing. The line all the way around with shrubbery, which is different from, I'm talking about the base of the building.
Yes, sir. I'm looking at it.
And that's completely different from what the other buildings.
You talk about on the boundary of the parking?
I'm looking at the base of the building. If I'm looking at it correctly.
Oh, I see, I see.
Yeah, that was done to meet the city's foundation and town's foundation planning requirement. You got a 4-foot strip along the face of the building. It is different than what's out at the other building, and I think that's because maybe that one was built before the current ordinance.
Yeah, I think more landscaping will be on this one. More landscaping. Okay. Yes, there will be more landscaping around this building than was initially put around the thicket. So I wasn't here when the thicket was built, but based on when I went out there and put the sign out there for the advertisement, I looked at that and I remember thinking that, so.
Does it require irrigation as well, or just the landscaping?
Yes, it does require irrigation, yes.
Jim, what was your concern? You had,
My concern is just so different from the other buildings, to be honest with you. And not that if this was a standalone building, I think it would be different, but I think that keeping it in harmony with other buildings, I think we need to make every effort to have the building as close to resemble as possible. I think the parking lot is fine, but I'm looking around the base of the building. No other building in that particular plaza has shrubbery like this one does.
what would you recommend that we waive that requirement?
I mean, it's up for discussion, but my guess is that, we ought to shoot for harmony with what's already there.
I'm trying to think of what else is there.
There's nothing. Go back and look at the.
Good.
There's nothing there at all.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I would agree with Mr. McCall, especially in the front.
Right.
The continuity in the front is particularly important. Maybe the sides, the landscape ordinance requiring the foundation be skirted around the side and rear might be retained, but if you were to at least make them, the continuity in the front is very important. Is my mic on? I think it's on. Yes, sorry. But I was saying that I believe the continuity the continuity of the front elevation is extremely important. As we know, none of the other buildings has landscaping. The sides and the rear, if the landscaping ordinance requires that, the board may say that's, that is the requirement. But I agree with Mr. McLean's comment, the consistency of the front elevation, which these men are attempting to keep that rhythm and that look. I think that the walks, continual walks, would certainly be something you'd want to consider asking for a relief on that particular item.
But you would maintain the trees on the front? Or is that what that's showing?
It's showing 2 trees.
Along with a couple of trees out in the parking lot.
I'm not concerned about the
Yes,
trees.
I think it's the foundation of the front is.
They're not going to be able to see the block.
I understand.
Thanks for that.
I think it's worth pointing out that the existing building actually does have landscaping beds. They just, I guess the landscaping is just died out. So I think as far as the frontage goes, it's the same, but it just would be live landscaping in one versus the other. There could be some things we could do on the property maintenance side of the ordinance. And then just as a point of order kind of thing, the planning commission will actually be the ones who review and approve the site, landscaping, and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, our new ordinance is going to be a lot stronger in regards to landscaping moving forward. That's something else to keep in mind as well.
Looking at the existing photos, perhaps what we're missing and would be good is rather than continuous foundation, perhaps there needs to be, as the original shows, there's some pockets of landscaping down through there instead of a continual foundation, because that's going to actually place foundation planning in front of full height storefront as we're seeing that. I don't know whether any variation can be made just on the basis of some planting beds, maybe 2 or 3 down through there. But continuity certainly is important between the 2 buildings.
Mr. Stubbs, how would you recommend that be handled? Can we forward our concern to the planning commission, for them to at least take that into consideration when they deliberate on it?
Yeah, I think it'd be best to have it as a note in there that was a point of concern for VAR, or a point of conversation, so they can take a look. And if it's deemed that more of a segmented landscape area is appropriate, I think they could probably move in that direction. I see what you mean in terms of the existing is more segmented versus continuous. But yeah, at the same time, it's usually the other way around. It's usually, can you add some more landscaping versus take it away? So it's a little bit different conversation. But it's certainly something that can be noted, Mr. Chairman.
Jimmy, you okay with that? Okay. Any other questions for them? Can I get a motion to approve?
I'm moving to approve the plan that presented, but to include that there would be wrapped, outside to be wrapped with the current brick, and that we just recommend the planning commission that, try to keep some continuity on the front as far as landscape.
Second.
Any questions?
I guess the only question I have on the vote, I guess, is the brick exactly the same what's currently being used?
Correct. Yes, sir.
We have to do that training.
Yes.
There's no change in that. That's currently what's there.
Correct.
Jim, would you mind repeating one more time, please? I was just writing down the motion. I want to make sure I capture everything.
Move that we approve the plan as presented, that all sides of the building have to be wrapped with the brick, which is similar to the existing, the prior construction with the plaza, and that the landscaping be point of concern in front of the building in order to maintain continuity with the existing shopping center.
Question, Mr. Clinton. The brick on the right-hand side of the building that's adjacent to the entrances into Cobblestone, is that your preference to have just full brick or brick and the split-face block wainscoting?
Well, since that's determination that, I guess, of this particular plan, so I think the wainscoting of the painted block would be an attractive addition.
I think that needs to be in your description, if that's what you're looking for.
The split face block is what you're referring to, right?
Come up and have the painted block on the north side of the building as well. That's overlooking the dentist office, basically.
But the south wall does not need to be.
But they're so close to the other building, I don't think it would gain anything much.
So we're talking about putting the water table on the north end of the north wall.
And Paul, obviously, before you sign it, we'll have all this listed and review, and, you know, if I miss something, then just let me know, we'll add it, so.
You have any questions or any objections to that, sir?
We're good with it. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask one other question?
Sure.
The parapet height on the front of the building, are you matching the height of the building adjacent to you?
Correct, yes, sir.
Very good, thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. So the way I understand it, this goes to the planning commission now?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Is that next month's
That'll
meeting?
be in October.
Okay. Thank you, guys.
Y'all can go ahead and submit plans.
Okay.
And again, I'll get with you, just shoot me an email, and we'll get together and make sure we're together.
Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Mr. Steins, can you bring forward item number 2D?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Our next application is applicant seeking certificate of appropriateness to construct 104 single-family attached homes. The location again is in Town Center. It's also an architectural overlay district. Location is 158 Langford Road. It's tax map number R15-100-06-01. Applicant's Great Southern Homes. They're proposing to construct, again, 104 single-family attached residential units. The parcel is about 12.5 acres. The applicant is a return applicant. They were first received a certificate of appropriateness October 17, 2024. At that time, there were several items conditioned as a part of that compliance they received, and I can read those out if you like. If there's not, you have in your packet there, I've kind of lined them out there in my memo, and it's up here on the screen, but there was 9 items there. And then in December 12th, 2022, they received their certificate with the following refinements. So then there was 4 additional refinements that they had put in that's in your packet as well. And those include everything from things related to their monument signage to, I think, the project in itself. Since that time of that original awarding of their COA has expired, I felt it was best to bring them back through, have been a year. To my understanding, nothing has changed with the project since that year, and the applicant is here tonight to answer any questions. The traffic study they had done a year ago was noted to be valid. The company who conducted that study put notations in there that they factored in a 5% growth chart, and they forecasted to 2026. So staff has reviewed that to be compliant. It meets the zoning requirements. There's not really a lot of technicality to the project in of itself, other than it just being what it is, townhomes. So, again, this hasn't been reviewed by the planning commission. It goes to them next, where they'll be reviewing the more specifics on the site, the traffic study, the driveway permittings, and all those kinds of things. So, I think they've got it in the packet there. There's pretty good detail on the homes themselves, and I'm here and they're here for any questions.
Great. How are you? Welcome.
My name is Josh Schrader with CEC. I represent Great Southern Homes. And to Mr. Hines' point, this is a reapplication. So as he mentioned, this began back in August, September of 2022. Mr. Ned Purcell, who was the architect on staff at Great Southern Homes at the time, had several meetings. I think he came before you as a board several times, and he had some meetings off the record just to kind of get some feedback to get the product to where it needed to be. And that certificate of appropriateness was approved by this board in December 22, January 2023. We then started working on the site plan. We got the site plan approval from the planning commission in September of 2023. We then started moving forward with surveying and design, and the site, the design aspect of the project is ready to, basically we were looking to submit the design plans for permit for construction, and that's when we found out that our initial certificate of appropriateness from this board had expired, a 12-month expiration date. So as Mr. Hines said, we are basically asking for the exact same approval that was given in January 2023, going back before Planning Commission next month, asking them for the exact same approval that was given in September of 2023, so that we can, and then at that point, we will be ready to submit engineering plans and calculations for permits to construct.
Great. Ralph, you had a couple questions with regard to the siding of the dormers in particular. Can you?
This just may be a refresher for the board. The siding is, the siding going to be a cement board siding, like a hardy type?
I believe so, yes, sir.
Do you know whether it would be pre-finished or finished in field generally? What do you do?
I do not. I'm on the civil side. I'm not on the architectural side. I know that if it was specified previously, that will be what is adhered to. Further, if there's an additional, if that's something that, you know, I think there were 9 plus 4. If there's another one that we need to add to as far as whether it's pre-finished or finished in the field, I think that's something that Great Southern is certainly open to accommodating as well.
Mr. Chairman, there may be perhaps just some notes to the file to ask questions, since this gentleman's not going to be able to answer those. Maybe that's something that just needs to be in the file. So, again, for the board's understanding, since it's been so long for the presentation, what type of siding is the siding, wood grinder or smooth finish? I remember those conversations. I don't see it now on these notes, whether you all want to hear those notes again, just so you know what is being built. They did extend the overhangs, which is one of their early details we requested. They had all the overhang cut off right at the side of the eaves, but they've now extended the eave overhangs. The metal roof over the vent, the dormer vent, was added along the way, so that is certainly there. I think just so the board understands what the materials are, might be something that's, maybe it's just a request to the developer to just answer 3 or 4 questions. The design of the vent as I stated earlier, the design of the vent, it looks like a window, but that dormer is actually a vent. And the proportions of the vent to the dormer, in my opinion, look a little bit awkward. I think the vent needs to be a little larger. They also had agreed to remove 6-panel doors from the design, and the design that we're looking at today has 6-panel doors, but this may have been an original presentation package that we're looking at just reset to the board. So you'll see on the elevation view, there is a 6-panel door, which the board specifically requested those 6-panel doors on the front of the buildings.
Would it be appropriate to issue a letter to Great Southern Homes saying it's our understanding, file the specifications?
I think that's probably the way that it could be handled. Certainly, and I'd be happy to.
I don't want to put Josh in a
Yeah,
bad position, but
no,
I just think you got to bring up some good questions.
And so we could put those in a letter of inquiry, and please state that these are what we're doing or we're not doing. We could draft a letter if that works for the town to.
It's really more a confirmation of specifications.
It's been so long, we're not really seeing the details.
Are there specific things that the board wants to see? I guess,
The side
could it be an additional condition of a certificate of appropriateness? Something so that way you know that's whichever you prefer is what you will get.
Unless we word a certificate of appropriateness such that it's weighted to where this is what we understand, this is what we're permitting, ABCD, and put aside that we are expecting.
We could do that. I don't know that we can do it right this moment because we probably need to sit down and put those out. So I don't know if that would delay the certificate of appropriateness for a couple of days until we get that language to the town staff so that it can go in the certificate of appropriateness.
We could do that. That would take a day or two to put that letter together.
Yes, sir.
And let me think, I'm trying to think how we're going to word motion.
And are these things that the applicant is going to need to be in agreement with? I think that would be.
I think that's what
That's what we're trying to get to.
I don't want to write a letter to something they don't know. I mean, I don't know what you're going to write.
Well, for instance, take the siding that we were talking about. Is it wood grain or is it smooth? Is it hardy plank, which we assume it is? But we're assuming a lot of things. We wrote down several conditions, but we didn't write everything down. I don't recall writing down the siding, for instance.
And I could, if that was, and again, that's why I feel a good level of confidence. This was a conversation that was brought up 18 months ago.
That's right.
And this board got a certain level of satisfaction at that time to issue a certificate of appropriateness at that time. So if those were the things that were discussed, there's really, and the board's wanting those things in there. I mean, if we're talking about wood grain versus smooth siding or hardy plank, I think those are things that the Great Southern understands would be required. Candidly, at this point, at this juncture, again, like I said, we're anxious to begin construction. So I guess if we can avoid any further delays, we would definitely appreciate it. But also want to make sure we're doing everything the way the town wants to do it. So.
It's my understanding that the October 17th meeting, this was deferred for those reasons. I think of a lot of, that would be these 9 items that were in the minutes that I pulled up. And that was the road lock brick denoting 24-inch height. Roof overhangs shall be installed at the edges of all roof lines. Additional parking provided in grass areas through the grass pavers or equal. Concrete walkways to the front door shall be provided. Details for acceptable yard fencing complement the buildings and neighborhood. The roof vents shown in the rendering shall utilize metal roof panels where appropriate. Work to be completed in the Pecan Grove area shall be detailed, including an entry sign. The walking path around the complex shall be concrete. Door style options are to be provided for the front and rear entry doors of each unit. And then on December 12th, the appropriateness was awarded with the following refinements. Detailed scope of work to be submitted for review and approval to explain the site preparation of the acreage included in the actual pecan grove. This shall include an explanation and possibly photos of the expected look of the grove following underbrushing activities noted by GSH. The design of the graphics included in the monument sign at the entry to the site shall be further enhanced. The 1x6 treated wood fence board shall be specified as smooth faced on both sides, and the 6-panel front entry door style elevation shall be deleted from the door selections offered. So those were the conditions that the project was awarded last December.
I guess one of my questions, because it has been so long, the plan review that comes through, the people that are reviewing the plan would have no clue what kind of siding, what kind of soffit material, what kind of columns. All of that was discussed. The plan reviewer, it's nowhere in our details. Is that something that concerns the board or concerns the staff? What you're going to see is going to be Great Southern Homes bringing a plan and details, and we have an older, long-term understanding that it was all sounded fine, but back then, we weren't questioning because the presentation, whatever was being presented, sounded acceptable. I guess today, since we don't have that presentation for the board, is the board comfortable just saying, let's make sure these few things have been caught, whatever was discussed about the aesthetic materials has already been approved, but I couldn't sit here today and tell you whether it's smooth or wood grain hard because we don't have it documented anywhere. I'm not trying to create that issue. I just want to make sure the board understands what the product is when it begins to be built that you find acceptable.
So Great Southern is not trying to abdicate responsibility of being here. I just happen to be the short straw as far as availability this evening. But certainly there's whatever was in that presentation. I can find that I can go back to them to get that presentation and submit that to Mr. Hines and Mr. Wilson. That way everything is per reviewed per what was agreed upon.
Is heat vinyl siding or trim permitted?
I don't believe so.
Is it excluded?
I would have to look back on the
I
regulations.
was called.
I believe this was excluded. I don't believe there's any vinyl.
No, the only question I
Siding
have
or trim?
would be the style and do we have other soffits and anything such as that. But I don't know, Mr. Chairman, how you want to handle it. I don't certainly not trying to delay anything. Just want to make sure the board understands what is the product.
I think we can work around and document the specification for the siding, smooth face, wood grain, pre-finish or not. We can also address the soffit panels. What I'm not certain how to handle is your concern with the roof vents. And I don't disagree with your comment about the roof vents. I'm not certain how to handle that. If we go ahead and vote for a certificate of appropriateness tonight. But your comment is that those need a little bit of a redesign from an aesthetic.
From an aesthetic standpoint, the proportions are a little bit awkward. Because when we look at this rendering, it almost looks like a window. It's actually a vent. And when you look at the elevational view, the vent is quite a bit smaller than the face of the door.
What would be your remedy?
Just make the vent larger so that it covers more of the flat area of the front of the door. Just when you look at the elevational view in the packet, it just looks a bit awkward. It looks like the vent's too small for the door. And they featured that as a feature. And so obviously we will want it to be an attractive feature that people not drive by saying, I wonder why they put that little vent in that big vent door.
Can we not specify or put a condition in that a resubmittal on the roof vent dimensions?
I think you could do that. You know, it could be reviewed at the permitted stage. Increase, if you just say generally, board would recommend increasing the size of the vent on the face of the vertical dormer wall, and that could be reviewed at time of permit. It's just the proportions are a bit awkward.
No, I agree.
Another point of clarity, I just want to ask Josh, one drawing elevation shows what looks to be a louvered vent. This shows what looks like to be a black hole. Do you know what it's actually going to be? Will it be a louvered white?
Yeah, that's not what I'll be comfortable answering, other than I know that they are anxious to get moving and will accommodate whatever the town's preference may be.
Yeah, I just thought it might help move, because if it was a white louvered on a white face, then that may not look as posing as a black hole and a white, you know what I'm saying? It's just a contrast thing, but if we don't know, then I don't know. Then you may want to specify the size and then the type of vent it should be.
Ralph, you're concerned with the soffit board is hardy plank versus a vinyl?
Versus vinyl.
Okay.
Again, just so the board knows, I don't remember what they recommended, it's been so long, or what they suggested, and whether the board would have any concerns over the actual soffit material.
And you know, while you're stating those items, another one that we'd be remiss if we don't specify is what, to bring it up, what roof shingles? Did we ever discuss the roof shingles? I'm sure we did. I don't
sure.
recall what we ended up with that.
There were architectural shingles.
There were architectural
shingles.
I would suggest that we try to take a shot at making a motion to approve a certificate based on the following conditions. Those that are already noted, as well as a comment in the motion on hardy plank siding and soffit boards, and a redesign of the vent under the metal roof to be enlarged, I guess is what we're saying. Anything else?
It's unfortunate because they made that presentation, as the gentleman said, other than these, everything was acceptable. I think we're probably asking some of the concerns again that maybe we heard, but I don't.
I'm sure we heard hardy plank. I can't imagine we would have approved a vinyl.
No, sir, and I can't confirm that. Just this isn't my architecture is not. I live in the civil world, but this every discussion that we've had with Great Southern Homes has been this is a higher end hardy plank brick. No, there's been no discussion about it.
Why don't we just exclude vinyl? It's part of it.
If we exclude vinyl, Ralph, does that leave us the possibility of something we do not want?
I wouldn't think so. If you exclude vinyl on
On the soffit and siding?
soffit and siding, no, I think you.
And then specify, is it a wood grain we're looking for on the siding?
You want to see a different render?
No.
Yeah, the color rendering is a little bit more descriptive, although on the color rendering, it's got some features that look like they're not brick, so I don't know that the color rendering is helpful to us. Because what they have now is a full brick facade on the front, and on the rendering, it's not a full brick facade, it's an older rendering. If you look at that right now, what we're looking at is it was either two different kinds of brick, two different colors of brick, and again, I don't know whether that's what they're depicting. It's two different colors of brick, or whether all the brick will be the same at this point. We just don't know. And I'm not trying to bring these questions up to confuse anyone, but just, I'm not sure that the board, I don't personally, as a consultant, I don't have a recollection of some of these questions. And although it was approved, except for these items, is it worth asking these questions?
What did we approve over the windows?
I don't know. You're asking, did we approve final clad?
I was asking, I don't remember.
They would, I know that we would have said they're at least, they're not grills between glass. They would have to be simulated divided lights. That's been in the regs for a long time.
The photograph showed that obviously the windows being black trim also, and was not this a correct presentation, I'm not sure.
I don't know either. You know, I would say that all of that trim, it looks as though the windows are all bronze type, maybe not black, but at least a bronze, a dark color. A little bit of a challenge because it's been so long since the board has seen this. It just makes it a little bit questionable.
It seems the longer we talk, the more involved this gets. The windows is an issue. If that is supposed to represent a color as opposed to white.
Right. And I'm not saying.
And I don't recall,
Yeah.
we could talk color.
We could have. It's been so long. I don't remember.
It seems to me it's a risky proposition to prove anything of this concern or unclear about what we approved the last time. You know, I understand time is critical, but getting this right is critical as well.
Absolutely.
Would the board consider a call to meeting just to have them come and present their material and color swaths? We don't know this has got a couple of colors in it. Would it be that the board could perhaps do a call to meeting rather than monthly, maybe in a couple of weeks, to have them just come back and present their color palette and their material selections one more time so the board knows what it is they're approving?
I'd be fine with that, if it's the will of the board.
I did have one question about the monument sign. So it looks on the CAD drawing like it's a brick monument sign. On the last page, like the color rendering, it shows maybe it's brick, I'm not sure. And you probably don't know. Do you know if the board approved the monument sign?
It was discussed at length, I can tell you, that's for sure. I don't remember.
From my memory, I believe that it was, we can go back and look at the minutes, but like Jim said, it was discussed at length. And I know the brick was something that the board wished to see.
So that's probably like a painted brick monument sign?
I believe so.
I was just curious because it's green and it doesn't match anything in the rendering for the building. So I was just curious if they approved that or if that was just a random color they picked.
I would have to go back and look at the minutes, see if it was captured. But I do think that the board, now that they're back, we can make sure of it.
Well, the comment I had too, is I think it was not this board's purview, but I think it needs to be in the record. Traffic study was approved and done before the announcement was scouted. And I think that petition had a significant impact on what future traffic concerns will be.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the second.
The traffic study was done and completed prior to the announcement of scout voters.
That's true.
You know, and we all know that, I don't know what time the traffic study was done, you know, if it's done at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, it's one thing, but if it's done at 8 o'clock in the morning, it's something totally different. So I think it needs to be understood at least, or at least not overlooked.
It's a good point. Would you be agreeable to, or you or Dad or whoever would come to present at a call meeting?
Yes, sir.
Just to go through all the specifications?
Yes, sir.
I think if we could do that. It's just been it's a lot longer than I realized it was.
I understand.
I mean, we're still excited about the project. I think we just got some good questions.
It's kind of,
So,
throw the circles back up. Yes, sir. No, I'm fine with that.
so the board would like to see another material mock-up board like they brought the first time, with the brick, the hardy plank, windows, which I don't think was brought first time, I would say, but certainly they could bring us in. But
Possibly roof panel, roof samples. You know, as long as we're talking about an architectural shingle, I can't imagine it being. I don't think, I could be wrong, I don't think we specified any colors at any time, did we not?
Not sure that they ever said that. Color palette for all, and whether they're going to change color palettes. I was just saying, I don't know about the color palettes and whether they may want to change the palettes from building to building would be a question, again, probably needs clarification. I agree. I think there's nothing here that's a knockout punch. I think it's just a matter of trying to understand what it is. You know, my concern over issues like this, from an architectural standpoint, is the plan reviewers don't have access to our knowledge unless it's in writing somewhere. And it might be very helpful, particularly with this project having multiple buildings and facades. It may be helpful to have this discussion.
Jim, can you word briefly
Absolutely defer
motion?
the certificate until the call meeting can be set up to review plans.
Can we get a second?
Second.
Any questions, any other comments? All those in favor say aye. Aye. Josh, if you'll pass back to Dan, whatever he brought several items with him.
Yes, sir.
If, and I feel certain we've talked about a lot of this. It's just been so long.
No,
It'd be best if we
we
could-
did.
be best if we could get it.
Coordinate Kirk and Daniel for that supplemental meeting.
Mr. Chairman, would it be helpful if I engaged with the representative from Great Southern and tried to hit these points? That way they bring what needs to be brought next time.
I think that's a good,
Sure.
yeah, I think that's a
I'll
good
be
idea.
happy to do that, yes.
Thank you, Rob. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, Josh.
Thanks, Josh.
Doesn't look like we have any citizen comments. Can I get a motion to adjourn?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
if I may, I'm sorry I didn't realize this board didn't have a staff report line in there. I don't know if that's traditionally been done. I don't have a staff report, but I do have a staff report. I wanted to address the board real quickly before we adjourn. This isn't official business, we can probably do it afterwards, but I want to bring a quick update on the Hoffman House. And I've got so I think Paul, I know we've talked, Jim, I know we've talked, so some of us have already talked. Everything that's going on is basically, pretty in-depth painting job, some painting on the inside, but on the outside, we have determined the roof is going to need to be replaced on the Hoffman House. It's about 25 or so years old. There's also extensive hail damage and stuff on it, so we're going to be submitting for a insurance claim on it. The roof that we're proposing to put back, and I went back and looked at some old photos of the Hoffman House, and obviously it had a metal roof on it. And I found a company that has as close to what I would call a 5V paneled roof as possible. This is a 16-inch panel. The panel we would recommend getting is they offer a 12-inch panel. So essentially you have a V about as this. So standing seam, as you know, is closer to about 2-inch. It's all flat in the middle, generally lays away for a lot of oil canning. You can pass that around. And the color we're proposing is to go back with what will be galvalume, which would be as close to original as it would have been done in the early days of original time. So galvalume is also a lot better product in the sense that it's not a painted substance. It's an actual metal coating, so the longevity of galvalume fading is pretty much non-existent. The company specializes in this product. Again, we think with a 12-inch panel, once it was up on the roof, it would give a very close simulation of what would have been referred to as a 5v5 panel of old times. This is a 50-year roof. The other unique thing is the clip for the ridge vent. Of course, it's all big galvalume. Is fluted on one side and then has the foam on the back. So very good protection where the ridge vent goes compared to a lot of systems. And I think one of the more important parts on this system is that it's a hidden fastener system. So, and it's the non-crimp system too. So it actually has a clip instead of a crimp. So the fail of this roof is really next to none. So the work's going to be a little bit more detailed than just ripping off shingles and nailing and then screwing down a metal roof. There's going to be a little bit of framework done on the back roof where it's scabbed on to the first portion of the Hoffman house. So you've got basically a gable wall that meets an eave wall where it's scabbed. That is a slump in it from probably the weight of the shingles and the absence of structure underneath there. If you've been in that attic, there's a little framing in there. I think we measured 40 inches on center, 2x4. The ridge beam is like a half-inch board across there. It's pretty amazing that how little you can get away with that compared to what we do these days. But anyway, I just want to bring it up, Dave, and see if there was any objection of that of going with back to more or less what was originally supposed to be on the house. The colors are not going to change on the Hoffman house. We're going to go back with white. We're fairly certain what looks kind of more like a hunter green now is more like a Charleston green based on the sections that hadn't been hammered by the sun. So we're going back the same color, trim colors and the same house color. So, yeah.
I'm afraid of metal roof, but I always require us to approve because it's a historic building, and I think this one's going to change the current structure. This will be easy to look at to make sure that this is historic. I'm certainly favoring so it's not like it's all about all these casual. I can't let's say but something is significant as a roof change. I think we just need to make sure that it is historic. That is his board responsibility.
How is that? That's still trying to determine
This is done with bring up this week. It's just become an item trying. I think it'd be a nice addition to it, but my only concern is to make sure that it's historically correct.
I think something I need to bring up is the roof. The house is leaking. We've got temporary patches on there. There's a lot of neglect on this building for many years. The wood siding and a lot of different things. So there's a substantial timeline and a very heavy expectation from the council to get the bleed to stop on this structure. So because we're in the middle of putting in fresh paint, we've had to get some drywall replacement in the inside, just in some areas where the water damage had effect. So in our conversations, if I knew it needed to be with it being a town-owned building, if I knew it needed to be an item on the agenda, certainly would put it on there. But that wasn't the understanding for.
we got that to the agenda for the call meeting together for
I don't think so. I mean, they need the lead time on these materials is 2 to 3 weeks. I don't think we have 2 to 3 weeks on that patch that we put up there. We don't want to take any more chances with the season that we're coming into with having more rains and those kinds of things. Again, the roof it's on is not historically correct by a long shot. So the thoughts were, in my and your conversations going back to, and I'll be honest, put a lot of research in this. This is as close to a original metal roof as you're going to find on the market. No one else. You got multi-rib, you got standing seam, and Meridian's really the only company offering this more specifically for these reasons. A lot of this is going up in the Charleston areas and more your historical areas for that very same reason, on new construction, to give it that period look. But
I just want to vouch for Daniel too. He did spend a lot of time researching the roofs to make sure that they got the most appropriate period. So again,
Speaking of the way you want to, Lord, still I like that little rationale is about the historical.
Well, I was going to say, for the board's understanding, the word 5V is a panel that's about 30 inches wide, and the V's are all upside down. So on one end of the panel is it's got an upside down V. Then a panel is flat, then it has two upside down V's. The panel is flat, and then it has basically a half of a V, and the next panel overlaps it. So what was being stated a moment ago, just so the board knows, that the 5V historically was an old panel that was used on barns, it was used on houses, it was used on buildings. Decades. Yes, it's right, exactly what's on the Langford home right now. And so that product, although it's still available, it's typically a 29 gauge product that's usually very thin. And this is probably a 26 gauge, I would imagine.
it was 26 or 24.
Yeah, 26 or 24. And what this has is, when this is capped, it has somewhat of a V look. So this far end snaps over this end. So you see that V, but instead of seeing a pair of V's, you'll always just see one V, one V, one V, one V. That's the difference of the aesthetics of the two products. And the V's are going to be much closer, which would look almost like a panel of 5V. You're just losing that double look. But 5V is used still. It's often used not on new buildings, not on habitable buildings. It's normally used on barns, garages, things such as that. But for Mr. McLean, the 5V has a historical relevance in this area because it has been used for so many years. But whether that was the original roof on that building, that you believe it was the original roof. So I think, from a standard of a product of current day, this small V, as was stated, a large architectural feature V, standing seam or something, your connectors or your seams are about that tall. This is more low profile, which is more in keeping with the low profile by 5V. So the difference in the two, when you actually look up there, would be you're going to miss that double V every other time. That's the difference in it.
Do we have a photo of the Hoffman House with the old roof on
Mr. McLean, I think there's a website that has it on there, and then there's an article in the newspaper that was done about the Hoffman House in 1976, 70. There's a clipping in a frame at the Hoffman House, and so I mean, we have documentation that is what was on the building, and judging by the other buildings in proximity, whether it be the museum or whether it be the insurance agency, etc., those all have the 5V, and it's they're more or less cool sealed at this point because they're the old school, tin roofs, and they've been coated, but the silver look is what you're going for. So again, the the guttering would be changed from the K style that's on there now, which that is not architecturally correct, and we'd be changing to a half round gable, which would be architecturally correct. So we're really righting more, I don't want to call them wrongs, but points of accuracy than what we have now.
Ralph, at whatever time it's done, would you have a problem proving that back? Is it, all things considered, the side of the color, is it bound?
I think we can at least get as close to that look as we can.
That's what it
I
is.
will say this too, you can't get the thick materials out of that also. You can get it painted. In fact, if you look at the Wilson House, which is just on the west side of the historic house, you see it has a new 5 feet roof on it,
So,
which was approved by the board.
that's it.
So I'm not against anything as long as it has to be an appropriate look compared to the 2.5.
What I was getting at, it seems the quickest we'll be able to do something is to notice a meeting tomorrow, to meet again next Monday, to go ahead and approve this toward a meeting.
Well, we
What I'm
have
trying to get
meeting.
around is,
Town council.
what I'm trying to get around is, if we think that's what we want to approve, that's fine. If we think we want to look at something else, let's say so now, in case Dan can get something.
I can't get with that.
I can't believe
How close that is to 5 feet. You have to have some understanding. If I always said we have to prove it, we have to prove it.
Understand. I'm not.
We can't write orders.
Well, like I said, the quickest we could do it is a week from today.
But I cannot judge from that it's an appropriate copy that they should get a 5 feet. Which is what we're asking them to do.
And you're dealing with McElroy at this point, as a supplier of McElroy over West London.
JCC Roofing is a local roofer, and they're the ones who have the content. They have the relationship with the material provider and stuff. So yeah, the understanding I was given. I mean, I understand there's other like the 5V still exists, et cetera, but it's still an exposed fastener system.
Yes.
So something we're trying to get away from is the exposed fastener, because that is, I mean, people are roof experts, but that's the fail of the roofs. With this system being a hidden fastener, it provides us a 50-year warranty. So we're trying to get something that looks more as close. I stated originally that's as close of a replica of a 5V, not an exact, but also with a hidden fastener and a 50-year warranty that far surpasses a architectural shingle roof that's been on the building for the last 25 years.
It sounds like you've done a lot of research on it, trying to find what as close to something what the original look to it as practical.
And it's a limited market. I mean, you know, and it's not just about getting the panel, it's finding a company who is certified by that supplier that has the warranty, that puts it in correctly.
That's right.
That does our chimney flashing correctly. So there's a whole lot more. And these guys are general contractors as well as roofers. So I don't want a fly-by-night company that may offer whatever type of panel and say they can do it, but then they can't come and talk to me specifically on how they want to do it. And JCC spent 2 hours with us going through the details of how they would ensure that roof is installed properly, to avoid oil canning, to avoid separation from the chimneys, all that stuff that they went into. And they're familiar with the projects, with historical projects as well. They did some work out in the governor's mansion as well, the company that we got doing the paint work, and then they did another building downtown here recently. So it's relevance as well as the material. But that panel would basically be a 12-inch sample, and it would be galvanized. So that would be, take 4 inches out of that panel, you're basically going to have a upside down V every 12 inches.
5 feet sheet is 46 inches wide,
5V now, we're saying, has exposed fasteners,
Yes.
which is something we
Which I think,
say don't want to
which
do.
is negative.
Out of all the panels they deal with, this is the one they feel best to go with.
By far, is what he said to me. Just because of the warranty, I mean, a lot of like your multi-ribs and things, they're usually tapping out around 25, 30-year warranties, so this is, quite surpassing that.
What I would recommend is we notice a meeting for next Monday and put these two items on the agenda, and we'll get you.
We have town council next Monday, so would everybody be good? How about a virtual call meeting that I sent out the agenda for tomorrow? And, is everybody?
Well, we'll just have to reschedule. So you're saying possible virtual call, special call meeting for Great Southern Homes. I was trying to knock them both out at the same time is what I was trying to do.
I don't think they're going to be, these guys aren't going to be ready.
Well, oh, you say, okay.
Plus, I don't think they're not going to be ready with the things that was asked, I don't believe, to get their plan. It sounds like to me they got some plan revisions and things to do, to bring to you.
What do y'all think about a virtual meeting for the roof panel? If
I've seen some metal roofs that are wonderful, I've seen some of them in terms when you start that, so.
what
I
if
think metal roofing is absolutely a wonderful, great idea, but I say, keeping it sure we can go after it, it's always go to town.
I agree. What if we were to notice a meeting for next Tuesday, just for this, at a time that makes sense? I'd love to have the project manager or the installer available if possible.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I just know that he just told me the lead time is already 2 to 3 weeks.
I'm sure. I'm surprised it's that quick.
I was just saying that he's already informed me that the lead time is 2 to 3 weeks. So I think we would, like I said, I think we need to either put a Zoom meeting, special call Zoom meeting together this week, as early as tomorrow, the next day, and try to get a decision going. Like I said, I wish I would have, again, with being town buildings, I was under the impression that, updates and that kind of thing was the request. But if I'd known I needed to, have a formal action on it, I would put it on tonight's agenda. In fact, I could have asked for an agenda amendment at the beginning of the meeting. So
Absolutely. If it doesn't stipulate it in the ordinance, if the ordinance doesn't say it, we got to go by the ordinance. What's the quickest we could notice a meeting this week?
I guess I can try to get something out tomorrow.
For
You only need 24-hour notice for an agenda posting.
what does that put us? Wednesday.
Yeah, so yeah, I bet you what you're saying.
I don't know if you can do it, but if you go to the website, you can pull up all the guys in Silver Creek link. For y'all to look at. I don't know if that helps. 100. McElroy, that
I mean, you've not adjourned this meeting. I'm not sure if it's too late to amend the. Yeah, I know whatever.
You go to the way. No.
That's what we can maybe Wednesday. Well, I'm agreeable to something that works for everybody. We'll come over to your house then.
See that?
You want to try to put something together for Wednesday?
Yeah.
And we'll put Great Southern out another week or a week and a half, 2 weeks. I'm agreeable most any time. It's up to you. No, I'm just teasing. What time does suit everybody? You're around all day. I don't know what your schedule is on the Wednesday. What about everybody else?
The earlier the better.
Mr. Bell?
Oh, my calendar is completely full.
That's what I call.
That's retired.
Jeremy, you got time to meet during the day if possible?
I'm going to be working, so might be tough for me to get there.
Either that or get you in by Zoom
Yeah, I get it.
if you got time. Why don't we try to notice something for 2 o'clock
Thanks.
Wednesday,
Yeah, maybe 1:30.
1:30?
I don't know if my calendar, but that's, I don't know, I got a couple of things. Is that okay?
Okay. We'll see you. You want to try that, Dan? And let's see if we put that together.
Yeah.
1:30 Wednesday. We already had a motion to adjourn. All right, let's take, I know you made a motion to adjourn, let's have a second. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.